Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. You know, we're all about keeping you ahead of the curve when it comes to hotel and travel distribution, right? Well, this week we've got 5 stories that are really shaking things up, and we're going to break them all down for you. No fluff, just the essential insights you need. You could say it's your shortcut to understanding the big picture.
Yeah, exactly. We've done the heavy lifting, reading through all the reports and analysis, so you don't have to. And trust me, there's some surprising stuff in here. We're talking everything from some potentially worrying predictions for U.S. tourism to the crazy world of online reviews to how digital identity is going to change how we travel. Oh, and of course, we've got the latest on the whole hotel OTA relationship and what travelers are really looking for these days.
So think of this as your fast track to being in the know. Buckle up, because we're diving right in. And we're kicking things off with a bit of a storm brewing over in America, at least when it comes to tourism.
Right. The first story we dug into paints a kind of gloomy picture, actually. Tourism Economics is predicting that international tourism to the U.S. could drop by 5% in 2025. That's a potential loss of $64 billion, which is huge.
Wow, that's a big number. So what's behind this potential decline? Is it just one thing, or is it more complicated than that?
It's definitely not just one thing. There are a few factors at play here, and they're all kind of intertwined. One of the big ones is something they're calling the international warning effect. Basically, countries like Germany and Britain have issued official travel advisories to their citizens about visiting the U.S. They're citing things like, well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, some pretty negative experiences people have had, including increased scrutiny at U.S. entry points. And, well, bad news travels fast, right?
Absolutely. That kind of information spreads like wildfire, especially online. So are these warnings having a noticeable impact?
Oh, yeah. And then you've got the whole Canadian boycott factor adding fuel to the fire. Political tensions and those new tariffs haven't exactly made the U.S. the most popular destination north of the border. They're projecting a 15% drop in Canadian tourism, which means about 2 million fewer visitors, and a loss of around $2.1 billion in revenue.
Ouch. Are there any real-world examples of this boycott in action?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing it play out already. There have been reports of Canadian high schools canceling their trips to New York City, and tour operators in Ottawa are saying they're getting 0 new bookings for NYC. It seems like Canadians are actively choosing to go elsewhere.
Makes sense. And that shift in travel patterns has to have some wider economic repercussions, right?
Definitely. The report suggests that we could see around 14,000 jobs lost in the U.S. tourism sector if this trend continues. And while big tourist hubs like New York City will definitely feel the pinch, it's the smaller towns and cities along the border that are really going to struggle. They rely heavily on those cross-border visitors, and they often don't have a lot of other economic options.
That's a really important point. It's easy to focus on the big picture, but it's those local communities that are often hit the hardest.
For sure. And to make matters worse, you've got the strong U.S. dollar making things even tougher. When it costs more for international travelers to visit the U.S. because of exchange rates, well, they're either going to come in smaller numbers or they're going to shorten their trips.
Right. It's simple economics, really.
Yeah.
So if you put all of this together, the travel warnings, the Canadian boycott, and the strong dollar, it kind of paints a picture of why hotel room demand is expected to drop by 0.8%.
Yeah, and that's not even the worst of it. The real kicker is the projected 5.1% decline in inbound visits, which could actually balloon to over 12% if trade tensions get any worse. So, yeah, things are looking a bit rough for American hotels right now.
Not the most optimistic outlook, to be honest. But hey, let's shift gears and talk about something a bit more, well, unpredictable. Let's dive into the fascinating and sometimes kind of shady world of online reviews.
Okay, this was a really interesting one. Tripadvisor just released their latest transparency report, and it offers a peek behind the curtain of how they're dealing with the ever-growing volume of reviews. And one of the first things that jumped out at us was that restaurant reviews are now more common than hotel reviews, 40% versus 30.9%. Makes you wonder if people are more vocal about their dining experiences than their hotel stays these days.
That's a good question. I guess everyone's a food critic now. But what really caught my attention was the sheer scale of fake reviews they're dealing with, especially those generated by AI. Over 214,000 fake reviews were moved in just the past year, affecting over 100,000 properties in 189 countries. That's crazy.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? We're talking about sophisticated robot reviewers trying to game the system. And it really highlights how much effort goes into maintaining trust and authenticity on these platforms.
For sure, you can't just take any review at face value anymore. But it's not all about fake praise, right? What about those reviews that focus on safety? Those seem particularly important.
You're absolutely right. The report actually showed that safety-related reviews are read at least 3 times more often than regular reviews, which makes sense. People want to know if a place is safe before they book it. And Tripadvisor flagged over 1,300 reviews that mentioned serious safety incidents. That tells you that travelers are prioritizing safety, and rightfully so.
Yeah, that's a big takeaway for me. But then there's the dark side of reviews, the blackmail aspect. It was kind of shocking to learn that TripAdvisor had to remove over 800 reviews that were linked to threats. Yikes.
Yeah, that's a whole other level of messed up. But it just goes to show you the lengths that some people will go to and the challenges that platforms like TripAdvisor face in trying to keep things fair and honest.
Definitely. And the amount of work involved is staggering. They made over 24 million edits to business listings in 2024 alone. That's a full-time job for a lot of people.
It is, and it really underscores the importance of critical thinking when you're reading online reviews. Don't just focus on the star rating. Look at the trends, pay attention to safety concerns, and take everything with a grain of salt.
Great advice. So from the potential minefield of online reviews, let's move on to something a bit more, well, futuristic. Let's talk about the rise of digital travel credentials, or as some people are calling it, the invisible passport.
Okay, this is where things start to get really interesting. IATA, the International Air Transport Association, is pushing hard for the faster adoption of digital identity technologies, and for good reason. They see it as a way to make travel both smoother and more secure. And we're already seeing some really cool pilot projects happening around the world.
Yeah, the one that caught my eye was the document-free journey trial between Hong Kong and Tokyo. They actually managed to pull off international travel using just biometrics and digital credentials stored on people's devices. No more fumbling with paper passports.
It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. And the best part is that it seems to work really well. They managed to cut the document verification process, which usually takes around 30 minutes, down to just 3 minutes. That's a huge time saver.
Talk about efficiency. So is this something we can expect to see rolled out on a larger scale soon?
It sounds like it. IATA says the standards they tested are ready for wider adoption within the aviation industry. So while it might not be global just yet, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
That's exciting. And it's not just about airports, right? What about other aspects of travel, like hotels?
Oh, yeah. This technology has the potential to revolutionize the entire travel experience. Imagine checking into your hotel, accessing amenities, and even getting personalized service, all without having to show any physical documents.
Now, that would be convenient. Is that something that's actually in the works?
Absolutely. Companies like Condata are already working on expanding the applications of digital credentials beyond just border crossings. They're looking at using them for seamless hotel booking and check-in, storing traveler preferences for personalized service, controlling access to facilities, and basically creating a completely interconnected travel ecosystem.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing. So how does this all actually work on a technical level?
It's all based on existing technologies like QR codes and NFC, which is what you use for contactless payments. So it's essentially a tap-and-go experience.
So no need to learn any complicated new tech.
Nope, it's all pretty intuitive. And the best part is that the technical standards and security protocols are advancing rapidly. So the invisible passport might become a reality sooner than we think.
Fingers crossed. Okay, let's tackle another hot topic. The often contentious relationship between hotels and OTAs. It seems like there's always a debate about who's winning and who's losing in that game.
Yeah, and this new study we found adds some really interesting data to the mix. It takes a more objective, data-driven approach, which is refreshing.
So what did they find? Is it all doom and gloom for hotels, or is there some good news in there?
Well, the main takeaway is that there's actually a pretty clear positive correlation between hotels that work actively with OTAs and improved financial performance.
Really? So the OTAs aren't the enemy after all?
It's more complicated than that. The study showed that for every extra dollar a hotel spent on travel agent commissions, which they used as a proxy for OTA engagement, their occupancy rate went up by 1.123% on average. That's a pretty significant boost.
Okay, so OTAs are definitely good at filling rooms. But what about the bottom line? Are hotels actually making more money when they work with OTAs?
Well, according to the study, yes. They found that each additional dollar spent on commission led to a $20.20 increase in Rivi Par, based on 2019 prices. And get this, the most interesting finding, and potentially the most controversial, is that every extra dollar in commission was linked to a $7.08 increase in EBIT to par, again using 2019 numbers.
Wow, those are some pretty compelling numbers. So, case closed. OTAs are good for hotels.
Hold on, not so fast. There's a catch. The study found that while economy properties did see higher occupancy and revenue when they worked with OTAs, their overall profitability actually went down.
That makes sense. I guess the commissions eat into their margins too much.
Exactly. So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. The impact of OTAs varies depending on the type of hotel.
Right, context matters. And to be fair, the study authors did point out some limitations to their findings. Just because hotels that spend more on commissions have better results doesn't automatically mean that the commissions are the direct cause of that success.
Yeah, there's always the chicken and egg problem with these kinds of studies. It could just be that more successful hotels have more resources to invest in things like OTA commissions.
And I think they also mentioned that the connection between commissions and profitability wasn't as strong as the connection between commissions and rev-par.
You're right. They said that the profitability findings might need more research to back them up. But overall, I think the study is a valuable contribution to the conversation. It's nice to see some actual data instead of just opinions and anecdotes.
I agree. It's a good reminder that we should be basing our strategies on facts, not just gut feelings. All right, last but certainly not least, let's talk about the most important part of the travel equation: the travelers themselves. What are they looking for? What motivates them? And how are their expectations changing? Well, we've got some great insights from Amadeus Hospitality's Travel Dreams report.
This report is packed with interesting data about how travelers are evolving, what they value, and how technology is shaping their experiences. And one of the most striking things is how consistent people are when it comes to what inspires them to travel.
Oh, really? So what's the magic formula for getting people excited about travel?
Well, according to the report, it's all about stunning landscapes and natural beauty. That was a #1 motivator across all generations, with a whopping 60% of respondents saying that's what gets them dreaming of travel. Cultural experiences and historical sites came in a close second at 48%.
So basically, people want to see amazing things and experience different cultures.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's pretty universal. But what's changing is how people find that inspiration. While recommendations from family and friends are still important, social media and travel influencers are playing an increasingly bigger role.
That's no surprise. Everyone's glued to their phones these days.
It's true. So the takeaway for anyone in the travel industry is that you need to have high-quality visual content that showcases the beauty and uniqueness of your destination or product, and you need to be sharing it across all the relevant digital channels.
Okay, so you've got people inspired and dreaming of travel. What happens when they actually start planning and booking their trip? What are their top priorities then?
Well, this is where the practical considerations come in. Price and value for money become the top priority for most people, especially those traveling for leisure. And location is also a big factor, of course.
Makes sense. People want to get the most bang for their buck, and they want to be close to the action.
Exactly. But here's something interesting. 63% of travelers said they'd be willing to pay extra for specific hotel features that enhance their stay, like a room with a view or being close to local attractions. That's a huge opportunity for hotels to increase their revenue.
So it's not just about offering the cheapest room anymore. It's about offering value-added experiences that people are willing to pay a premium for.
Exactly. And on top of that, over half of travelers said they're happy to share their personal data in exchange for personalized deals and offers. So there's a growing trend of people being willing to trade some of their privacy for a more tailored travel experience.
That's interesting. It seems like personalization is becoming the name of the game in travel.
You got it. All right, let's fast forward to the on-trip experience. This is where we start to see some interesting differences between business travelers and leisure travelers, and even between different generations.
Okay, break it down for us. What are the key distinctions?
Well, leisure travelers, especially those from older generations, still tend to prefer the personal touch of a traditional check-in experience. But business travelers overwhelmingly prefer the speed and efficiency of online or self-service check-in.
I can see that. Business travelers are usually on a tight schedule and don't want to waste time.
Exactly. And when it comes to their priorities during their stay, business travelers are all about seamless travel logistics and smart in-room technology, while leisure guests prioritize cleanliness and the quality of service.
So hotels need to be able to cater to both types of travelers, offering both high-tech and high-touch experiences.
Absolutely. And it's not just about meeting expectations during the trip. What about after the trip is over? What influences whether someone will return to a hotel or destination?
Well, I'd imagine a good experience is key, but what specifically makes a difference?
According to the report, the top two factors influencing repeat visits are value for money and cleanliness. Those are the non-negotiables. But beyond that, there's a clear desire for more personalization. Leisure travelers want hotels to remember their preferences for future stays, while business travelers are looking for even more seamless integration of technology and AI-powered personalization throughout their journey.
So the takeaway here is that successful distribution is no longer just about making rooms available. It's about crafting personalized experiences that resonate with travelers at every touch point, from the moment they start dreaming of a trip to long after they've returned home.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've uncovered some pretty significant trends and challenges facing the travel industry. We've got potential headwinds for U.S. tourism, the ongoing battle for authenticity in online reviews, the exciting rise of digital travel credentials, the complex and nuanced relationship between hotels and OTAs, and the ever-evolving expectations of travelers who are demanding more personalization and value than ever before.
It's a lot to digest, for sure. But understanding these trends is essential for anyone who wants to stay ahead of the curve in this dynamic and ever-changing industry.
And that brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. As you reflect on all of these developments, we want you to consider this. What single trend or insight do you believe will have the most significant and lasting impact on the hotel and travel industry in years to come? It's a question worth pondering as you navigate this exciting and often unpredictable landscape.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
And we'll see you next time.